It's graded.
Hey guys, it's Nikki here. I'm here today to do kind of a fun and special video with you. He will come on camera in a little bit here, but my husband is helping me out with this one. My goal for today is to present him 10 books that I read in 2020 and have them put them kind of on a rating gradient of 1 through 10. These aren't necessarily my most or least favorite. They are just 10 books that I physically own, and he's going to try to put them in order of my enjoyment. I will be telling him the title and the author of the book and giving a brief summary of it, and then he will place it along the sticky notes behind me that are labeled 1 through 10. And then at the end, I will give him a grade, so we will see then if he passes or fails. All right, the first book is Highland Conqueror by Hannah Howell. This is the one where you had the English lady release a Scottish lord and his family to return to Scotland to save her nephew from her evil cousin. I did read this one recently. I did it as a Book of the Month review.
Well, you did explain it, but you know, for these type of books, I don't really find that the plot really matters. All that matters is that. So based on this alone, because really it's just filler. It's abs. So though she likes them, I don't think it would be a favorite because the story does mean a lot to her. I think I suggested this one for her because it reminded me of myself. So I'll put it at 5.
The next one, this was a reread from my childhood. It is The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. It's the first book in his trilogy. You follow a young girl who has basically been raised at a university, and her uncle visits, and because of this specific visit, she ends up getting pulled into this political turmoil that results in her kind of being involved in a really large battle in another part of their universe.
So is this the one that's like Poor Man Chronicles of Narnia?
No, it's better than the Chronicles of Narnia.
Poor Man's Chronicles of Narnia. I'm sure it's fine. The movie wasn't the best, but that doesn't mean that the book isn't good. I actually didn't hear you talk about this one that much. Like, you must have just read it and just didn't tell me about it. I know a bit about it. There's a polar bear with armor. That's the extent of my knowledge with this. When you started to explain the story, I was like, maybe this is just the same name, just different story. Like, it has nothing to do with the polar bear. But if it ends up in that, I think you like fantasy. And based on you, I know you sort of like Chronicles of Narnia. And if you say this is better than that, then that gives me a clue. Put that at 8. These might change as new books come out.
All right, the next one I know you'll remember. This is Dr. Zhivago. This is a translation of a Russian classic. It's a man who is thrust into the throes of the revolution during the early 1900s, and it says that he is a doctor and a poet, and he wrestles with the changing political structure, as well as he's struggling with this love of 2 women.
You're not a big fan of love and stories, but you do like your more historical or kind of based in reality sort of stories. But I do think less than polar bear. So I'm gonna put it below polar bear at 7.
Okay, so you're doing 10 as my favorite?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is Caging Skies by Christine Lunan.
You don't need to explain this. I can explain this. There's like Hitler Youth, and it's very angering. Is that a right word?
Yeah, he's like an incel.
Yeah, and basically keeps this Jewish woman captive and falls in love with her. It's kind of like a different take on Stockholm Syndrome, except it's the captor that falls in love. Is really weird. regardless of how well the story is written, or if it is a good story at all, I know that you didn't enjoy this one because it angered you, and that has nothing to do with how you enjoyed or disliked the movie. So I am going to be ranking, these ranks are like how much you enjoyed it rather than how well it's written or how good the story is. So for now, I'm going to put this at 1 because this is the one that sticks out in my memory as her complaining about it.
You might also remember this one just because of how I talked about it. This is Island by Aldous Huxley. It is a classic science fiction. It's about a man who stumbles across this supposed utopian society in kind of the rurals of a Pacific island. And it's kind of explores how insular societies can be, and then when an outside force comes in, what happens to society when it has such strict rules and utopian setting.
We've talked a lot about utopias and stuff, not in the context of books, but just in the context of like, what would a utopia be? Is it even possible? So I think that this would very much be of interest to you. I think you enjoyed it quite well, at least the concept, not necessarily the story itself, but going up on the concept. And I remember you talking about it, but I don't remember if it was good or bad because all that type of talk I enjoy. So even if it's being angry at it. So yeah, let's put it below the abs. So we'll put it at a 4. It might change.
All right. So this is one you recommended to me. It's Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. I remember talking with you about this pretty in depth because you did want me to read it and wanted to know what I thought of it. For those who don't know, this is following a young boy named Jim Hawkins, and he kind of falls in with a local doctor, a local squire, and it's their kind of adventure to find this treasure, and a bunch of things go wrong, and there's pirates and swashbuckling and a bawdy song or two.
I enjoy this story. I enjoy the Treasure Island and all the different iterations of it. Muppet Treasure Island, even Treasure Planet, the movie Treasure Island. It's a pretty common Disney theme that they keep on trying to bring it back. And but I do know that you didn't enjoy this one. You recognize that it was a good story and that some people would like it, but you just couldn't connect with the characters. And yeah, for that, I'm probably going to put it, well, obviously above Caging Skies, but put it at 3.
The next book, I don't remember if you'll remember me talking about this. It is The Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. It is sort of a first contact with aliens book. Basically what happens is the humans are dying. They send out a bunch of these expeditionary forces to try to find a new planet. And part of this is terraforming the world to prepare for human life, but shit goes wrong. And
I have a feeling that you enjoyed this book just because of the themes of terraforming our planet, you know, the humanity versus things. I don't remember you talking about it, but you like the theme. Oh my goodness. Is it better than abs? Still better than abs.
This is a grimdark fantasy. It is called The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. You follow a small, medium-sized cast of characters in this world where things are clearly going wrong and they're about to go even more wrong, and you just follow these kind of great to bad characters around to, as far as I can tell, save the world.
It's really cool that this author was branching out and writing books because doesn't he own clothing store? Abercrombie and Fitch. He just got a middle finger. We like grimdark, but I think every time we talk about grimdark, it's hard not to bring up Game of Thrones and stuff like that. I don't know if we've talked enough for me to know that if you like grimdark or don't like grimdark, because
Hit and miss.
Okay, because it usually just talks about what grimdark is and rather do we like it or not. Based on her reaction, which is this, I do think that this is probably would be an embodiment of grimdark. So I'm going to associate this with how much you like this book. But I don't got it enough. I'm bumping Treasure Island to 2, The Island to 3, No, I'm going to keep The Island at 4. I'll put this at a 3.
The next one I talked about with you only because this was a big thing for my mom and I when I was a teen. It's The Stand by Stephen King. It's a chunker of a book that covers kind of, I guess it's kind of like Lord of the Flies, but like because of a super plague.
It's very long, which would put it to the 1 for me. But I think you enjoyed it. I think you enjoyed this one. I don't think it would be like your favorite or anything, but, and again, you like the humanity versus things, even if it's humanity versus humanity, which I think this would be both against the virus, but also the virus serves as a way to equalize everything and take away the technology, take away everything, and just see how humans get along, kind of like The Walking Dead and stuff. How many books? How many more?
One more.
One more. I saw a bunch of books here, but I forgot. Our household just has lots of books. It's like, how am I supposed to fit all these in 10? Let's say The Golden Compass is at 9. No, I'm changing. Golden Compass is going to go down to 7. I'm just thinking about it more. Dr. Zhivago is going to go at 8. This is going to go at 9. Because there's only one book left, I probably will be, whatever I've done before this is just going to be completely thrown out the window, because assuming that, I don't think that this one would be her favorite, but I also don't know what it is.
The last book that we're going to do today is The Papermenage and Other Short Stories by Ken Liu. It is a short story anthology with bits of science fiction, historical, some are a little bit contemporary. These are, how I found out about these books are, I heard a couple of the short stories on LeVar Burton's podcast where he reads short stories to adults, and I read this pretty recently, and I remember talking to you about it and telling you to read it.
Well, if you recommended it to me, and you did, you probably really enjoyed it. We enjoy reading anthologies or short story collections together, so I think you really enjoyed this, and I think I was just eating my words that leaving this and this is probably not her favorite, but no, it is pretty clear which one is her favorite. The Abs. So The Abs is going to go at 10, and this one will be a 5.
And do you want to take a look at the books and see if there's any changes you want to make after putting all of them out?
There's not too much space. I think, in all honesty, I do think that this would probably be the 10. There's so many. These books are too big.
All right, you're done?
Yeah. So starting at the bottom, Caging Skies, Treasure Planet, Abercrombie and Fitch, The Island, Abs, Dr. Z, Children of Time. I'm already at, right, I have my thumb. The Stand, and then that anthology.
I don't know how to break this to you, but you got none of them right.
What about in like things that you, let's put it in half, like 5. The ones that you liked and the ones that you disliked?
No.
You liked Caging Skies?
More than 2 other books on this list.
What? And that is not my fault. You complained about Caging Skies more than any other book. I think your list is wrong.
All right, so as you saw at the end of the clip, my loving husband didn't actually get any of the books right. So clearly, I need to talk to him more about what I'm reading.
It's not possible.
And he needs to get a better memory. There are some things he said that I absolutely will not deny. However, some of what we talk about, like him and I, outside of books, are things I don't actually like to read about, and I guess I've never expressed that to him very well. So I'm gonna go with what he was doing, where 10 was the best and 1 was the worst. I'll start at the top. If you watch my channel, you know this is one of my favorite books of all time, and it was my second favorite read of 2020. And what I enjoyed so much about this is that you watch humanity develop and you watch the planet develop, and it's done in a very interesting way, and you get to see the generational effect of everything that happens at the beginning of the book. This was my second favorite read. So he was very close with this one. He put it at 1, and this, like, he put it in the top spot, and it was really second from the top. For all the reasons he put it in 1, that's why I'm putting it in 2, or 9. Third on my list, so 9th or 8th overall, was The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. And when I told him that my relationship with Grimdark is so-so, or hit and miss, I guess I never really talked to him about this because this is one of the few Grimdarks I read last year that I actually really enjoyed. And it was because of the character work and the cause and effect you saw in the Kingdom. Again, you weren't far off with The Stand. It was in the right half of the half of the list. For all the reasons you listed, and with the summary I gave, is why it's there. Wasn't as well written in terms of society as some of the other books that are on here that have similar themes. When you first placed this down, you put it in the right spot, and then you moved it. Although I agree, like, the story isn't the best written, this is one of the more entertaining reads I have. This style of historical fiction is really a guilty pleasure for me. I do tend to read them after I've read a darker or more serious read because they are a palate cleanser because of how light and fluffy they are. Like, the abs on the cover are nice, but I definitely have read it and reread it because the story just feels very wholesome. Next is The Golden Compass. You're right, I do really enjoy fantasy. And this actually, I really enjoyed this as an adult, even though it really isn't aimed at adults. Bear in Armor is way cooler here than he's in the movie, FYI.
It wasn't Baron?
No, I can't remember his name now. The place he lives is called Svalbard, which is like...
What do you call him, Baron Armor?
A bear in armor.
Oh.
There's a lot to this book that, although I would have given it 5 stars when I was a kid, it's only about 3.5 stars now. It's still really good and I enjoy it, and I intend to read the rest of the trilogy again. And then Treasure Island. You had this on the right half of the scale. This, I would say, is the last book that I actually enjoyed on this list. While I think I was outside of the intended audience, this is a book I definitely see myself rereading with children when we have them. And it is just like a fun, interesting story. It just wasn't as complex as I would have liked, and it's definitely aimed at kids, but it's not something I'd pick up on my own. And now we're getting into the books that I didn't actually care for. The first of this is Caging Skies. And I get where you were going with this, hun, with how much I complained about it. But what I complained about was the back half of the book. The front half of the book was incredible because you got an idea of what Hitler Youth was like, how they were indoctrinated, how society was functioning, and a lot of it was done through the filter of a child. So there's a lot of things that happened that were horrible in society that you kind of got this brainwashed filter with. And it was really interesting. And if the entire book had been like this, I would have adored it. But then there's this creepy incel part where the guy keeps her, falls in love with her, emotionally abuses her, that I had some serious problems with. It was really hard to reconcile the two halves of the story. Is a classic sci-fi. What I should have known getting into a classic sci-fi, that it would be kind of weirdly misogynistic and that I would not enjoy the men in it. Guess what happened? Part of my issue with this is it was also the book I wasn't expecting. I got titles and authors mixed up, so it didn't really do for me what I was hoping it would. So I mean, I am a little biased in that sense. However, my big issue with this book is that it read more like a philosophical essay than a story. And so it was very slow paced. It dragged a lot. I did not get a lot from this book. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. It was one of my worst reads last year. And then this one. You were right, hun. I love classics. I love historical fiction. What I don't love is a story that pretends that a man falls in love with two women, but really what it is he's just moving to the next most convenient person to take care of him, because that's all he's ever had in his life is women taking care of him.
Smart.
I have a video, I'll include a link for it. The only redeeming quality of this book for me personally was that the author, because he's Russian, describes Russian winters with this like magical filter that doesn't translate to anything else in the book. So it was the bottom of my list. I don't know if you want to come out and let me just peek out again. I'm sorry, I need to talk to you more specifically about my books. Thank you for doing this video with me. If you guys enjoyed this and want to see more content with my loving, super tall husband, please let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.